Good evening. From our newsroom, your anchor, Asa. Tonight, we bring you a story unfolding in Minneapolis, a city that has, in recent years, become a crucible for the national conversation on policing and accountability. It's a story that echoes with the events, yet carves out its own urgent and profound significance. Just hours ago, a man was shot and killed in Minneapolis, not these, but by federal officers.
This isn't a drill. It's not a training exercise. It is a grim reality that has sent shockwaves through a community already grappling with deep-seated questions about law enforcement. NBC News first reported the critical details. A man, now deceased, the direct result of an encounter with federal agents. The sheer weight of that phrase, federal officers, immediately elevates this incident, front microscope, demanding answers from a distinct tier.
In a city scarred by the ghosts of past encounters between law enforcement and its citizens, this new development threatens to reignite tensions, stir deep-seated distrust, and prompt renewed calls for transparency and justice. Are involved in a fatal shooting, it raises a unique set of questions about jurisdiction, accountability, and the often opaque nature of interagency operations. Who were these officers? What federal agency do they represent? What led to this deadly confrontation?
And perhaps most critical, what does this mean for the fragile trust between Minneapolis communities and the uniformed personnel sworn to protect them? This is not just a local story. It's a flashpoint, demanding our full attention, our rigorous investigation, and an unyielding commitment to truth. To understand the full gravity of tonight's news, we must first revisit the landscape upon which this tragedy unfolds. Minneapolis is not just any American city. It is a city inextricably linked to the national discourse on policing.
The murder of George Floyd in May of 2020 at the hands of a local police officer ignited a global reckoning, reshaping public perception of law enforcement, sparking wide protests and accelerating demands for systemic reform. That event and the cells and convictions placed Minneapolis under an intense, unforgiving spotlight. The city became a battleground for ideas about justice, race, and the power dynamic between the state and its citizens.
In the years since, Minneapolis has been engaged in a difficult, often painful journey of action and attempted transformation. The city's police department has been under a federal consent decree mandated by the Department of Justice, aimed at addressing a pattern or practice of unconstitutional policing. This decree, a direct consequence of Floyd's murder, is a monumental undertaking designed to overhaul everything from use of force policies to community engagement strategies. It's a process fraught with challenges, marked by both progress and setbacks, and constantly under the watchful eye of the public and federal monitoring. Against this backdrop, the involvement of federal officers in a fatal shooting introduces a layer of complexity and potential conflict. Federal agencies, whether it's the FBI, the U.S. Marshals, the DEA, ATF, or Homeland Security investigations, frequently operate within local jurisdictions, often in partnership with local law enforcement through joint task forces.
These collaborations are typically to tackle specific, serious crimes that cross jurisdictional boundaries or require specialized federal resources, such as drug trafficking, organized crime. While these partnerships are touted as force enhancing law enforcement capabilities, they also blur the line, raising questions about which agency's policies govern incident and who ultimately investigates and adjudicates the actions of officers drawn from different branches of government.
The history of federal intervention in local policing is long and varied. From the war on drugs to anti-gang initiatives, federal agents have been a consistent, if often less visible, presence in American cities. Operation Legend in 2020, for example, saw an influx of federal agents into cities like Minneapolis, ostensibly to combat violent crime.
While supporters hailed these operations as necessary interventions to restore order, critics often raised concerns about mission creep, the militarization of local policing, and the potential for federal overreach, particularly in communities already wary of aggressive law enforcement tactics.
Into this deep reservoir of history, trauma, and ongoing efforts at reform. It forces us. What was the nature of this federal operation? Was it a standalone federal action or part of a joint task force? And how will this incident intersect with the fragile ongoing work to rebuild trust and redefine justice in a city that has become a symbol for a nation grappling with its own complex relationship with law enforcement? The stage is set, and the questions are monumental. The deep dive. Let's now delve deeper into the immediate aftermath and the complex incident involving federal officers in a fatal shooting.
The limited information from NBC News, man shot and killed by federal officers, officials say, as our starting point, a stark headline that opens a Pandora's box of inquiries. The first, of course, which federal agency or agencies were involved. Federal law enforcement encompasses a vast spectrum, each with distinct mandates, operational protocols. Were these agents typically responsible for fugitive apprehension and court security?
Or perhaps the FBI, investigating a wide range, from terrorism to organized crime. Could have been the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, targeting narcotics, or the Bureau of Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, ATF, investigating violence. In some cases, Homeland Security Investigations, HSI, a branch of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, also conducts investigations that can lead to such encounters.
Each agency operates under its own specific rules of engagement and use of force policies, though all ultimately bound by the Fourth Amendment's prohibition against unreasonable seizures, interpreted through the lens of reasonableness established in Graham v. Connor. Context of the encounter is paramount. Was this a planned operation, such as serving an arrest warrant or executing a search warrant? These are often high-risk scenarios where others anticipate potential resistance.
Or was it a more dynamic, spontaneous situation? Perhaps a pursuit, a vehicle stop, or an unexpected confrontation during surveillance. The distinction is crucial for understanding the decision-making processes that led to the use of deadly force. A planned operation, tactics, risk assessments, and contingency plans are typically established beforehand. In a spontaneous encounter, officers are often reacting in real time to rapidly threats. Immediately, we must also consider the community's perspective. A city like Minneapolis, where community police relations are under scrutiny, initial narratives are often met with skepticism, sometimes outright disbelief. Eyewitness accounts, if they emerge, can diverge significantly from official statements, creating a competing set of facts that demand thorough investigation. Civil rights organizations and community advocates are already poised and transparency, video evidence from body cameras or surveillance, and a comprehensive, independent investigation. They will undoubtedly ask if de-escalation tactics were employed, what less lethal options were available, and whether the use of deadly force was truly the only resort. Simulated expert opinions often shed light on these complexities. A seasoned criminologist, for example, might explain that federal agencies often prioritize mission accomplishment, which can sometimes translate into more direct, less community policing-oriented tactics than local departments under consent decrees might employ.
The training and cultural norms can differ. A legal scholar would likely point out that While federal officers operate under federal law, the practical realities of urban policing mean their actions still deeply impact communities. The standard for use of force is high, requiring an objectively reasonable belief that the officer is in imminent danger of death or serious bodily harm. Community leaders, meanwhile, will likely voice concerns that another life has been lost, and regardless of the circumstances, it further erodes the fragile trust we are trying to build. We need answers, and we need them quickly, without option. The investigative process itself is multifaceted. When a federal agent discharges a firearm, especially fatally, it triggers multiple layers of review. The specific federal agency involved will conduct an internal administrative investigation to determine if policies were followed. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota, potentially in conjunction with the Department of Justice's Civil Rights Division, will typically launch a criminal investigation to assess whether federal civil rights laws were violated or if any criminal charges are warranted. This federal oversight is distinct from how a local police-involved shooting would be handled, which might involve a county attorney's office and local review boards. The level of transparency in these federal investigations can vary, and public access to information might be more restricted than in local cases, citing ongoing federal investigations or national security concerns, which can fuel public frustration. Furthermore, we must consider the deceased individual. Who was this person? What was their background? Were they armed? Were they the subject of the warrant or an unintended party? The narrative surrounding the issues and perceived threat level will be central to both the official investigation and the public's understanding. In the immediate details, speculation fills the vacuum, leading to heightened anxiety and potentially misinformed conclusions. The very term live updates from NBC suggests a situation still unfolding, with initial reports often fragmented and subject to revision as more information becomes available.
First, witness interviews, forensic evidence from the scene, and potentially body-worn camera footage, if federal officers were equipped with them and activated them, will all contribute to building a complete picture. The collection and preservation of this evidence are paramount, and the chain of custody will be under intense scrutiny. Ultimately, this deep dive reveals not just the details of an incident, but the systemic complexities woven into the fabric of American law enforcement.
It highlights the often unseen roles of federal agencies in local communities, the differing cultures and accountability structures, and the persistent challenge of enforcement's operational imperatives with unity's demand for justice, transparency, and respect for human life. The implications. The reverberations of a federal officer-involved shooting in Minneapolis will undoubtedly stretch far beyond the immediate scene, touching upon the political, economic fabric of the city, and potentially the nation. The implications are profound and multifaceted. Politically, this incident places pressure on both local and federal officials. For Minneapolis's city leadership, its mayor, city council, the timing could not be more challenging. They are still navigating the complexities of police reform under federal mandate, working to rebuild trust and addressing persistent concerns about public safety. This incident, involving officers, complicates their messaging and their ability to directly control the narrative. They will likely be pressed to demand answers from federal authorities, to advocate on behalf of their constituents, and to ensure that local concerns are not overshadowed by federal investigative processes. This could strain interagency relationships, especially if federal authorities are perceived as being less communicative or transparent than the city expects. At the federal level, the Department of Justice, the FBI, or the U.S. Marshals, depending on which agency was involved, will face intense scrutiny.
Their internal review process and subsequent criminal investigations will be watched closely by civil organizations, media, and lawmakers. This incident could spark renewed debate in Congress about federal task forces, the training and accountability of federal agents operating in local capacities, and the broader role of federal law enforcement in urban areas. Depending on the political climate, this could either bolster calls for tough-on-crime federal intervention or strengthen arguments for greater local civilian oversight.
The White House might even be compelled to issue a statement, particularly if widespread protests or civil unrest erupt. Economically, the implication would be significant, especially if the shooting leads to prolonged unrest or heightened tensions. Minneapolis, like many major cities, relies on a stability and security for its economic vitality. Businesses thrive in environments where there is predictability and public confidence.
If this incident fuels protests, disrupts commerce, or damages the city's reputation, it could deter investment, and create a climate of uncertainty for local entrepreneurs already struggling with pandemic recovery. The costs associated with increased security, potential property damage, and legal proceedings could also strain city budgets. The narrative surrounding policing and public safety has a direct correlation with economic health. Socially, the impact could be the most enduring and damaging.
Minneapolis has made earnest, if imperfect, efforts to heal from its past traumas. This incident risks unraveling some of that fragile progress. For communities, particularly color, who have historically borne the brunt of aggressive policing, a fatal shooting by federal officers can reinforce feelings of being targeted, unheard, and unprotected. It can solidify the perception that issues persist, regardless of which uniform is worn.
It could lead to a renewed surge of mistrust, making it harder for any law enforcement agency, local or federal, to build rapport, gather intelligence, or effectively police with community consent. Though polarize public opinion further, deepening divides who support law enforcement unconditionally and those who advocate for radical reform. The incident could also reshape the conversation around federal-local law enforcement partnerships.
While task forces are designed to enhance public safety, their operational opaqueness and complex accountability structures often draw criticism. This shooting might prompt a reevaluation of how these task forces are structured, what oversight mechanisms are in place, and whether the benefits outweigh the risks to community relationships.
There might be calls for local police departments to reconsider or renegotiate their memoranda of understanding with federal agencies, demanding greater transparency and adherence to local community standards, especially concerning use of force and de-escalation training. Furthermore, this event contributes to a larger national narrative about policing. It serves as another data point in the ongoing debate about police accountability, the militarization of law enforcement, and the quest for true equity in the justice system.
It will be analyzed by academics, activists, and policymakers across the country, influencing discourse and potentially shaping policy recommendations far beyond Minneapolis. In essence, this shooting is not an isolated event. It is a stone dropped into a complex, already turbulent body of water, and the ripples will spread wide, touching every aspect of public life in Minneapolis, echoing across the nation.
How authorities respond with transparency, ability, and genuine engagement will largely determine whether these implications are managed constructively or lead to further division and despair. Conclusion. As we conclude this deep dive, the raw facts remain stark. In Minneapolis, killed during an encounter with federal officers. But beyond the immediate tragedy, what emerges is a complex tapestry of historical context, ongoing struggles for justice, and profound implications for the future.
This incident is a sobering reminder that the work of reforming policing, of building trust, and of ensuring accountability
is never truly finished. Cities like Minneapolis, which has been at the epicenter of a national reckoning, every interaction between law enforcement and citizens carries a historical resonance that cannot be ignored. The involvement of federal agents, with their distinct protocols and chains of command, adds a critical layer of complexity, demanding a multifaceted approach to investigation and a multi-tiered commitment.
We have explored the historic backdrop of Minneapolis's relationship with law enforcement, the intricacies of federal operations within local jurisdictions, and the questions that immediately arise from a use of force incident of this magnitude. We've considered the potential political, economic, and social ramifications that could reshape law and policy for months, if not years, to come. What is unequivocally clear is the urgent need for comprehensive answers. The community demands to know who these officers were, what precipitated the use of deadly force, and what steps will be taken to ensure a thorough, impartial investigation. Transparency is not merely a request, it is an absolute imperative for any hope of healing and rebuilding trust. Without it, the seeds of suspicion will take root, and the fragile progress made in Minneapolis could easily be undermined. As this story continues to unfold, our commitment at News Organization Name remains unwavering to pursue the truth, to ask the difficult questions, and to hold power accountable. We will continue to monitor developments, seeking clarity from federal and local authorities and amplifying the voices of the community. For the family of the deceased, for the officers involved, and for the city of Minneapolis, the path forward will be challenging.
But it must be a path illuminated by truth, guided by justice, and ultimately aimed at fostering an environment where such tragedies become increasingly rare. Thank you for joining us for this special report. We will continue to bring you updates as they become available. Good night.